Afternoon. Hope everybody is doing well today. I'm getting ready to go for a CT scan, make sure that my radiology plan is good, and tomorrow I start chemo and radiation. It's a big leap of faith, but I'm looking forward to getting started and getting it done. I figured I would take a minute today and talk about a subject that has become near and dear to my heart that I had never considered before, and that is traumatic brain injury. I am coming to grips slowly with the fact that whether I like it or not, I have suffered a traumatic brain injury. And let me say with this video, I'm not looking for pity. I'm not looking for, people to feel bad for me. I want people to understand a little deeper about what traumatic brain injury is and what that really means to people going through it, because I got to tell you, I'm doing 99.99999% better than anyone else who's had the operation that I've been through. I am truly blessed and I am doing so very well. But so many people are suffering with traumatic brain injury, and it's an invisible injury, and it's a very real thing. And just to come to grips with it and allow yourself to accept that you've had one is very difficult. And for those people who are having the negative side effects from traumatic brain injury, my heart goes out to you because it is really tough. It is a hard thing to deal with. So with that being said, I figured I'd talk a little bit about it. In my case, it's a surgical injury, but in the past month, think about it. I've been through a near-death experience. I've been through a major brain surgery, had a large portion of my brain removed, and then the trauma and of just recovery and being told how close to death you were. And it's a traumatic event. Now, I have a great support family, and God has blessed me. And life has been so very good to me that I am doing so very well. But many people who have been through this, and that's what this video is about the people who aren't doing well. Veterans, other people with brain cancer who are suffering the side effects of the medications. I take a medication right now called Keppra to avoid seizures. And many people who take that medication have uncontrolled rage. It's called Keppra rage. God has spared me from that. But there are people who have no choice. They have to take this medication, and they are absolutely impossible to live with. And think about what that does to a family and to friends. I've been so very blessed to avoid that and not have that complication. The other thing I will tell you is that there are times with emotions are very difficult. I can't control my emotions. I get, you just cry for no reason. And I'm not looking for anyone to feel sorry for me for that. It's just a different way. Your body has to relearn to process emotions differently. And I'm okay admitting that, It's a growth process. And my good friends are really good about telling me you have to allow yourself to be human to heal. You can't be Mr. Spock, and you can't be a Vulcan with no emotions. You're going to have emotions. You've got to feel them. You've got to work through them. But it can be a hard thing to do. I can also tell you people with traumatic brain injury can't always control how they respond to things. There are sounds that cut through me like a knife that I could not imagine putting earbuds in my head because the sounds are worse than nails on a chalkboard, like 1,000,000 times worse than nails on a chalkboard. One of the saddest things that has happened is that my baby daughter's voice is just in the sound range where it affects me. And I have to stop her sometimes from singing because the sound just cuts through me like a knife. It pierces me. But I have made tremendous progress in the past 4 weeks in dealing with that. But you can't imagine how hard it is when your own child's voice is hurting you. And I just refuse to accept that. But it is a real thing. And people with this type of injury, they can't turn that kind of thing off. Certain sounds bother them. Certain emotions bother them. Certain emotions bother me. So I want to offer support for people. I want to make it people aware that it exists. It's a real thing. Here's the big thing about traumatic brain injury that people don't realize: it's an invisible injury. It's not like I'm missing an arm or a leg or I'm in a wheelchair. People could see that and say, "Oh yeah, he's got an injury." No, it's invisible. I mean, people can see my scar and be like, "Well, something's he's had a big surgery," but they can't see what's going on in anyone's head, and nobody can. So when you know someone's been through a traumatic event in their life, be mindful of what you're saying to them. You know, they can't necessarily respond in a way that you would like them to respond. And that's no fault of their own. I mean, brain chemistry is super complicated. If I could heal the world, I would. But it is very difficult to A, admit you have a problem, B, seek help for it, and C, accept that, things are hard and change is difficult. And that's where I find myself now, is just accepting that change is hard and sometimes things are difficult. And I am so very fortunate. Do not feel sorry for me for 1 minute, because my brain injury is mild in comparison to some of the people out there. Aside from, crying uncontrollably sometimes and issues with certain sounds, I'm 100% intact. I have avoided so many complications because God has been so very good to me. Okay. And the tears don't last very long. This is a short-lived thing. And it's not a pity thing. It's not like I feel bad. A lot of times I have tears of joy, overwhelming joy that I just I can't process it. The brain has to relearn to process emotions. And that just takes time. And that's part of healing and recovery. So recognize that there are people out there with brain injuries that you can't tell. And when they, it's not a visible injury. And when they don't act the way you expect them to act, just give them a moment of patience and kindness. And for goodness sakes, if you know someone who's had a brain injury, don't bombard them with emotions they can't process or problems that they really are not prepared to handle. Because they honestly can't handle it. There are times when I can't handle other people's emotions because I can barely keep a handle on my own. So the idea of handling other people's ideas, it can be difficult. I'm not saying that I'm not open to listening to other people. I am far more compassionate now than I ever was before surgery. I have a new level of compassion and love for life that I never had before. But just be mindful of the thoughts and feelings of others. And, like I said, when you're dealing with an invisible injury, it's difficult to recognize that it exists. So when you recognize someone has this type of injury, just cut them a break, And for loved ones, you got to figure out the triggers, and you got to help the person heal those triggers in a way that's safe, and just allow the person to be human. That is such a very difficult thing, is allowing yourself to just be human and heal. If somebody lost a leg, you'd let them heal. They'd be in their wheelchair. They'd do what they did to heal. And that's brain injuries. Sometimes they just don't heal the way we would like them to. So be mindful of people's triggers. Be mindful of people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and be mindful that not everybody has the control that they would like to have. Now, I'm so very thankful to God for my condition. Do not feel bad for me for 1 second. For all means, I am in such a good place emotionally and support-wise that you couldn't imagine. But I do want people to be aware that if you have a brain injury, you are not alone. Please do seek help, seek counseling, seek therapy, seek the medications you need, but realize you are not alone. People with brain injuries, the suffering is every bit as real as if you had any other kind of injury. And just be mindful of your words and actions towards others. And we should do that even with people who don't have brain injury. I mean, let's face it. How often do we treat people poorly in our lives just because we're not thoughtful or mindful of what we're saying or doing? So, being thoughtful and having love in your heart, that's something we should do every day. I wish each and every one of you the very best. I'm sorry to ramble on. I know this is not a food video, but it's an important video because there's nothing more important than your mental health. Why eat good food if you're not going to take good care of your brain and your body, right? So I hope it finds everybody well. God bless each and every one of you for your love, support, and prayers. Anyone with a brain injury, know you have my prayers. And, I understand now more than I ever thought I would how difficult it can be to overcome obstacles placed before you, but know that they can be overcome. Healing happens every day. And, I look so forward to destroying this cancer and being a whole and productive person again. And I get closer to that goal every day. So tomorrow we drink our poison, we take our radiation, and we get what we get, and we don't pitch a fit. And I love each and every one of you for your prayers and your thoughts. And I look forward to making many more videos. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.